Hey there, YouTube. This is CFL Fanatic. Once again, here I am giving you my picks, and here we are at long last. The 2011 playoffs are upon us at long last. 5 games to go. The last one being the Grey Cup, which will be in Vancouver in just 2 weeks' time, so I'm already getting really excited for it. But first, we got to go through round 1 this week, the division semifinals. East final, Hamilton and Montreal. West semifinal, Calgary and Edmonton. So some very interesting matchups and ultimately some very key matchups. Anyways, let's take a quick look at the playoff picture right now. Here's how things are going to go. Hamilton, already we knew that they were going to finish third. That was pretty much the only thing set in stone going into the last week. 8-10, they're coming off 2-game losing streaks. Montreal coming off a 3-game losing streak at 10-8, and Winnipeg managed to clinch the tiebreaker against Montreal, so they will host the East final. BC will host the West final. Calgary and Edmonton will play in the West semi. Alright, so without further ado, let's get right to the picks. First up, the Eastern semi-final, and this one will be at the Big O in Montreal, and it'll feature 2 division rivals, the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Montreal Alouettes. So, now, some of the keys to this game we have to keep in mind. Right now, I have to say Montreal obviously not impressing me. They went up 25-10 against the Blue Bombers, then managed to give it all away, allowed the Bombers to come back in Week 17. Then in Week 18, they lost to Calgary, and then just last week, they got absolutely destroyed by the BC Lions, 43-1. So needless to say, the Montreal Alouettes are very, very shaken up at the moment. So, being so beaten up, if they were to play Winnipeg this week, I would honestly say I think Winnipeg would be able to beat them without too much trouble. Now, however, Montreal does manage to catch a little bit of a break in the schedule by playing Hamilton. And why? Because Hamilton is also beat up too. You look at Hamilton, yes, they're in the playoffs, but keep in mind, the only reason that they're there is because Toronto really didn't do very well. And that brings me to another point. Hamilton is on just a 2-game losing streak instead of a 3-game losing streak like Montreal is. But Hamilton's 2 losses include a 19-3 offensive horror show against the Saskatchewan Roughriders and a 33-16 fourth quarter meltdown against the Toronto Argonauts, the 2 worst teams in the league. So, Hamilton also beaten up as well. Now, it's ultimately, I think this one might come down to experience. Anthony Calvillo has experience. Anthony Calvillo is the most experienced player in the league right now. He's done a phenomenal job with this Montreal Alouettes team. And Hamilton, I think hasn't had a great season, hasn't done what they want to do, and ultimately I think I'm going to have to give the edge to AC and the Alouettes. I'm taking them. Alright, so right on to the Western semifinal, and the Battle of Alberta is renewed in this one, as the Calgary Stampeders take on the Edmonton Eskimos. So, this is going to be a very interesting matchup because going into last week, both these 2 teams could have finished anywhere between 1st and 3rd in the CFL Western Division. The West Division with them and BC is very, very competitive right now where anybody can beat anybody. So, of the 2 games this week, both could be interesting. Hamilton could have put on an interesting show. But right now I'm going to say that the closer game, the more interesting one to watch, the one that's more up in the air, is going to be this one, the Western semifinal. So, some of the keys to the game. Jerome Messam will likely not play from what I understand. I'm not sure if he's if there's a possibility that he's going to play, but it's quite possible, and it's looking at this point, I believe, that he is not going to be playing. So, can the Eskimos win without their solid ground game? The answer, I think, is yes. Calgary's defense can be beaten. Their defense is not spectacular, and Calgary's offense right now is inconsistent. Now, we look last week, Calgary had a lot of success early on against the Blue Bombers. They opened up a 24-0 lead over the Bombers, but then after that, they could only manage 6 points in the second half, allowing the Bombers to come back in the second quarter and pull to 24-17. This offense has got to get going. Right now it's going to come down to experience. We've got Ricky Ray taking on Drew Tate. Of the two quarterbacks, Ricky Ray is the more experienced. Drew Tate has done an excellent job coming off of the bench to just be a first-year starter. Well, first time starting the games. But I really have not, have maintained it for the whole season. I really don't think he's ready for the playoffs, and I am going to take Ricky Ray and the Edmonton Eskimos in this one. So those are my picks for the division semifinals in case you missed them. I was hoping for a more interesting video, a longer video, but time got the better of me, so this will have to do for now. Anyways, so tomorrow, Sunday, November 13th, watch the division semifinals because I always find the division semis are usually very, very interesting. So I'll see you next week.